Hello students, welcome back. So in this session, we are going to be focusing on variable. So what exactly is a variable? Well, it is a name that refers to a value that is stored in your computer memory. So why do we need variables? Well, to store data, and also this way we can reuse variables. So how do we create variables in Python? Well, that's easy. You just specify your variable name over here and you say equal to, and then you put the value in here. This one right here is what is used to assign a value, and that is why it is called an assignment operator. Now let's create some variables. Here I'm creating a variable x. I'm assigning it a value 10. This is an integer. In this case, I'm creating a variable name and I am assigning it a value Python. This is a text. In other words, in Python they call it string variable. Here, I'm creating a variable rating and I'm assigning it a value 4.8. This is a decimal number. In Python, they call it float. That is a technical word that is used in Python. This in Python is called a string variable. After that, I'm printing my variable x, I'm printing name, and I'm printing rating. So when I run this cell, it should come no surprise to you that it prints out x, which is 10. This is right here, it prints out 10. Then it prints out the name, which is Python, right here, and then it prints out 4.8. Now, occasionally in Python documentation, you're going to see this. Python is dynamically typed. What does it mean? It means that you do not have to declare the data type. Python will determine the type of your data at runtime. So let's understand this through an example. In this particular instance, I'm defining a variable x equal to 10. Now, if I print my value of x, is going to print x, and also I wanna see the type of my x, and it prints out the type int. Nowhere over here I specified that this should be int. And what just happened was Python automatically determined that this is an integer because it is not present. There is no decimal point over here, and this is not a string. So Python determined that this is an integer, and it treats this as an integer. Same variable x, now I'm defining it x equal to 10.6. So if I print x and I print my type, now the Python is going to determine this as a float. In other words, a decimal, because of the presence of this decimal number over here. Another interesting thing is that I'm using the same variable. Over here I use x equal to 10, and over here I use x equal to 10.6. So you can use the same variable multiple times. In this particular instance right here, I have x equal to hello. This is a string. When I run this, Python is going to print x, which will be hello, and then also the type of this x. In this case, it's a string. So this is what you mean dynamically typed, that nowhere over here I specified what type the variable is. Python determined this, what type the variable is, based on how it was defined. Now in Python, we can also perform calculations on variable. So suppose I have price. I'm defining my price variable as 100, and I'm defining my tax amount as 18. And I want to calculate my total amount. So the total amount is going to be your price plus your tax, and then I print my total in this case. So when I run this, it gives me 118. In other words, I'm doing calculation over here with my variable. So that's one of the advantage of using variable, that you can do these types of calculations. Now let's look at some of the naming rules for variables in Python. Well, there are certain things allowed. For example, I can use letters for variables. I can use numbers when I'm defining variables. I can use underscore. But what I cannot do with these three things over here, I cannot start my variable with a number. For example, to underscore name, that is not allowed. I cannot use special characters in my variable name. Like these types of special characters, these are some of few of them, they are not allowed. I cannot use Python keywords. So let's understand this through some examples. So in this case, I'm defining my age equal to 25. That's fine. In this case, there's a characters over here. Everything is character, and that's fine. So this variable definition is good. In this case, this is good too, because in this case, I'm using underscore over here. In this case, I'm using a number, but I'm not starting my variable name with a number. So this is perfectly fine. In this case, I'm saying this is underscore count equal to 3.9. This is good too, because it's starting with underscore. So these types of variables you can define. Now let's look at some of the examples where you cannot use that to define variables. For example, I cannot start a variable name with 1. So if I say 1 name, this is invalid. This is going to throw me an error. So let me comment these lines out, and just to show you. Now come over here. Actually, let me run this cell first. There you go. And you can see that it gave you no error. Everything worked fine. Now let's run this cell. Now, when I run this cell, you can see that it says invalid syntax. Okay. Let me comment this out. Let me uncomment this. And look at this. This one says total minus price. So I'm using one of these characters over here. So if I put total minus price equal to 100, if I run this, you're going to see some kind of error over here. And let's come over here. You can see there is invalid error, invalid message. Oh, sorry. Okay, there you go. Cannot assign the operator. Now, what if I use this right here? Let's say I use a dollar sign over here. Or maybe, you know what, let's just use a hashtag. Oh, no, not hashtag. Let's just use at the rate. Okay. So total at the rate price. And if I run this, and you can see that it's giving an error. So you can go through some of these things and that'll give you an idea what's happening over here. All right. So this is invalid. What about this right here? Well, in this example, I'm going to change this to, let's say, a special character. Let's use percentage. Okay. Total percent price equal to 100. Let's see what it does. Well, look at that. It cannot do that. This is a mistake. All right. So this doesn't work. What about this right here? In this case, I'm saying class equal to 10. Well, this is not going to work either because the word class is a reserved word keyword in Python. So how do you know which are the words that are reserved in Python? Well, there is a way you can actually find out all your reserved keywords, and you actually have to import this library. Just type import keyword, all right, and then print keyword dot kw list. Kw stands for keyword list. Now, when I run this, it's going to give you the name of all the keyword that's in Python. You cannot use any of these keywords for a variable name like this over here. So let's say I cannot use true. So if I try to define like this over here, true equal to 4, and if I run this, it's going to give me an error right there. Okay, cannot assign this value. But if I change this capital T to small true, right there, that's going to just work fine because this small true with small t is not part of this over here. Also, Python is case sensitive. What do you mean by this? Well, it means that if I define a variable age, age, and another age variable like this, but the only difference between these two is over here is a small a, over here is capital A. So Python is going to treat this and this as two different variables. So when I print out my value of age and I print out the value of this age, it will give me the answer different. This will be the 20 because this is different, and this capital AGE would be 30. So it prints out 30 over there. That's what you mean that Python is case sensitive. Some languages are not case sensitive. Python is case sensitive. Then there is a multiple variable assignment. In this case, what you do, you can actually assign your variables all in one shot in one single line. So in this case, I'm saying a comma b comma c equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. So your a gets assigned 1, your b gets assigned 2, and c gets assigned 3. So when I print my abc, that's going to print your 1 2 3. And then if I want to say a plus b plus c, it's going to print 6 because 1 plus 2 plus 3 equal to 6 right here. Then you can also assign same value to multiple variables. So let's say I have three variables x, y, z. I want to give them all same variable. I can same value. I can say x equal to y equal to z, and z equal to 5. So I assign all these values, and now when I print my x, y, z, it's going to give me 5, 5, 5. So this is 5, this is 5, this is 5. This is kind of a neat little trick you can actually use to assign multiple variables same value. Now you can even reassign variables in Python after you have assigned them. In other words, you can change their values. So let's say I have a variable count equal to 10. And then in the next line, what I'm doing is that I'm taking this count plus 1 to that. So my count right now is 10, and 10 plus 1 is 11. So this whole thing now is 11. So now my count became 11. So when I print my count, it's going to give me 11 right here. So what just happened was this was 10 initially, and then over here I changed the value of the count, and when I printed my count, it came out to be 11, not 10. Now, there are a few common mistakes happens when people assign variables. So let's walk few of the common ones that I've seen over the years. The first one is this right here. Suppose you want to define your variable age as 25. So occasionally what happens, you define them as a string. Okay, I've seen that mistake happening. And so this is a string variable. And so now if I try to add something to it, let's say you say age plus 30, this is going to give an error because this is a string and you cannot add 30 to that. So this is a problem that I have seen. So you want to remove this code right here. Remove this code, and now when I run this, it's going to run just fine. Okay, next one. Coming back to this, forgetting assignment. So occasionally I've seen where when you say, let's say you perform some calculation, let's say your S equal to P plus 10, but nowhere over here you're defined P, nowhere up there you're defined P. And because no assignment was made to the value of P, this is going to give you an error. So in this case, you can see that P is not defined. So this is another mistake that happens where you're using a variable that has not been assigned. In other words, you're forgetting assignment. Also, I've seen where people, they have confused this with this right here. This one is called assignment operator. In this case, it's assigning x as 5. So variable x is assigned value 5. In this case, this is a comparison operator. In this case, I'm comparing whether x is equal to 5. So just be aware, this is different than this. You have to use this one when you're assigning variable.